Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today is Wednesday, October 11th. 284 days into the new year, just 81 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Big Wednesday today. Tonight, our special guest, John DeSouza, is here. We're going to talk about his new book, Clear Hearers. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Now, you can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube. Go follow, like, and subscribe right now. Go over to the website and click. Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. You can email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Tom DeLonge today did his live stream. I would call it almost a press conference. And we will be talking about that tonight. We have to. I'll do a little bit with DeSouza and maybe bring it up with John DeSouza, Don Schmidt. And it was a pretty big day. And looking at the conversations in the Post and Twitter today was just nonstop, still going. Facebook, all of social media is talking about this. What was revealed today, was it what everybody was expecting? It was very interesting. Very interesting. The one thing I do want to comment on is yesterday, the To the Stars team over there, Tom wanted me to see the presentation video in advance and comment on it. I didn't mention this last night on the show. That just wouldn't be cool. But so I was sent that yesterday, and Rita and I both watched it together. I didn't see it without Rita, is what I'm saying. We watched it together and just went, okay, all right, here we go. I didn't know what Tom was going to say today or how the presentation was going to be handled. But there you go. Tom DeLonge wearing a suit. That was a shocker. And the presentation, I think, for what they are doing and how they've got it set up, it was the presentation that needed to be done. If anybody expected some kind of massive disclosure thing and somebody to step up and that happened today, I'm not so sure that would have been the right place. But so we're going to talk about all of that tonight. And then, of course, tomorrow is Thursday night. It's Fader night. And by that time, everybody will have seen the video replay, and we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay, we'll digest this and get some time behind us, and then we'll talk about all of that tomorrow night on the show. Okay? All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, which we have over 730 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android. Everything is there. Updated every single day. Just $2 a month. Okay? Now, if you want to become an official Fadernaut, very simple. Just go to our membership section over at jimmychurchradio.com. Click. There's 4 ways you can do it. You can become a Fadernaut for free. And, there's all kinds of really cool benefits just for becoming a member. It's very simple. Or you can go all the way through and you can bang it out, autograph shirts, hats, all that stuff, and downloadable commercial-free archives and the bunker cam. And for those of you that are watching me now, you know what's weird about the bunker cam, right? This is the problem with it. I know it's cool and you guys dig it, but radio is not supposed to be about the visual. So I do the show for so many years without any cameras or anything, and I do my own thing over a coast, no cameras, right? So it's different. But now I've got a camera with a light on looking at me during the whole show. I can't do anything. I feel like, I just feel like I'm a display at the zoo. People walking by and looking, fat radio dude. Okay, that's cool. Do not feed the radio guy. There's a sign there. That's what I feel like. All right. Well, anyway, you get all of that with this camera in our membership area. Don't forget about all of our sponsors. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, GNU Pharma, all of the sciences right there. Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, and now our newest sponsor, Bearing Optics, Night Vision. Oh, yes, Jimmy Certified Night Vision, and the links are right there on the website. All you've got to do, you want to get in on that night vision madness. Seriously, a game-changing thing. Just go to Bearing Optics. Alec Hoffman is your guy over there, and all of the information is right there on the website. Okay, as promised, let's get the show cracking. Right now, I've got Don Schmidt. He's right here waiting in the background. And you know what? I'm going to bring in, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in Don early because I want to run a couple of things past him here. All right? Don, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, Jimmy, how are you? Great to be back.
Man, you got the distinctive voice, man. I know.
I envy your voice. Come on.
Man, I know it's you when it's you. But a couple of things really quick. I wanted to bring you in early because at this point in the show, I always say happy birthday to a couple of people out there that affected my life. And what's weird, these two today, I'm going to ask you right now because you're a singer, right? Daryl Hall today is 71. How
my God.
Yeah, right? He's like Mick Jagger old.
Daryl's House.
Oh, God, that show was so good.
I love that show, and most people aren't aware of the fact that Daryl Hall and his former wife and a couple of his kids, they all suffer from Lyme disease.
That's right.
And that can be a very, debilitating, disease in that there are entire, times, there are days that you can barely get out of bed.
I know. I had read something the other day that if a couple of things didn't come into play early on, that 100% of the U.S. would have Lyme disease today.
Yes.
Some crazy fact. I was like, that is nuts.
I have a brother and a niece and my brother's wife. They live up in a wooded area, and they're stricken with the condition.
Yeah, and you can carry it for years and not show any symptoms, and not even know it. But
that's correct, and it can become life-threatening, and
right.
It can wreak havoc with your joints and eventually your heart. And as a result, and you're absolutely correct, they're talking about that within 5 to 10 years that the entire country could be impacted. So
yeah, it's pretty nuts. I'll tell you what I like about Daryl's house is Daryl's house.
yes.
Daryl's house. That's a house. Also today, Joan Cusack is 55 years old. And I just think she's great, and she would have been a star without her brother, right? But Grosse Point Blank,
her brother that we generally, we think of, and we're knowledgeable of. But you're also correct about Joan as well. Absolutely,
she's great. She's great.
She's overshadowed by her brother. But yes, she certainly could stand on her own otherwise. And
also today, are you ready for this? You and I are going to show our age because I remember this like it was yesterday. On this day in history, OTD in 1975, Saturday Night Live debuted.
Yes.
Wow.
John Travolta. I remember I had to take my girlfriend, who would become my first fiancée, to the movie, and she needed to see it twice and a third time, and because of Travolta and his dancing.
No, Don, not Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live, but it's the same era. So there you go. You are showing your age.
But you know what my preference was at that time? It was not Saturday Night Live. It was SCTV.
Oh yeah. And
I love like Joe Flaherty and John Candy and Catherine O'Hara and all them. I mean, I thought it was much superior. And the whole Saturday, Second City troupe, I just loved them.
Who was, you remember John Candy's character, Johnny DeLuca? What was it?
Johnny LaRue.
Johnny LaRue, that's it.
Johnny LaRue. And when his and the station manager, Guy Caballero, who only sat in a wheelchair just for sympathy.
I love that show.
Demoted him and gave him a new show called Street Beef. Where all he did was, go out and, with a single camera sound man and get the word of the man on the street, that type of thing. And he just hated it. But
unbelievable. And Saturday Night Live debuted, but this is what it's trippy, and we all lose sight of this. The original cast: Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Garrett Morris, Jane Curtin, and Lorraine Newman. Holy crap! Right? Holy crap!
And,
unbelievable.
And only one of them is gone so far, right?
Belushi's gone.
Belushi's gone, right?
No, yes. Gilda Radner. She died of cancer.
Belushi, right?
Yeah, but Chevy's still here. Dan's still here. Garrett's still here. I haven't heard from Jane or Lorraine in quite a long time, but I've got a fader fact for you before we continue this conversation. This is for you, okay? Now, I bet you didn't know this, but this is a fact. This is a vetted fader fact. Print book sales have risen, while e-book sales have plunged in the United States and the UK in 2016. How crazy is that? Did you know that? Print book sales are going through the roof.
Not because, our museum in Roswell, our gift shop alone does $1.5 million a year. And book sales have been at a steady decline for, probably the last 10 years.
Sure.
But you are correct in that there has been an uptick, and the e-books have dropped off. So now that you mention it, yes, that does make sense.
Yeah,
but who would have predicted? Who would have thought?
There's one thing about, going to, the brick and mortar stores and going and feeling something before you buy it, checking it out, picking it up. But I knew that Amazon, there's some things, a lot of things we just don't need to check out. We know what we want when we are going to the store, and that's what we're going to buy. And going online and getting it is fine. But and book sales, the thing that I fought and I still don't agree with, an ebook is not a book. It's a different. It's not a book. There's something
as an
about
author, I could not agree more. There's just something about having that hard copy weathered, book that has shown all the attention of the years and hopefully multiple readers.
That's right.
And as it gets handed down from generation to generation, and I can't imagine an ebook ever being a collectible.
That's
in the
right.
future.
You're going to that's going to be in your will, right? So what did Dad leave you? He left me his ebook collection.
I know. Well, I for also, as far as being an artist and having, gone to the school for art, the thought that who is ever going to hang a piece of computer artwork up on their wall?
Well, having an ebook out there that the author and the publisher can update and add new photos or new text and make changes to, I get that.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely. But that's how we also submit. In the past, you submitted a hard copy manuscript for final editing and approval. Now you just you send in your disc, and you can edit as you write. I mean, that's the great. Just like digital cameras, you can edit as you film. So it has many advantages. But for the buyer, for the reader, no, it's just like the film. You go to a movie, you don't want to see how the film was made and all the changes that were made throughout. That was one of the things that spoiled me, like being on the Roswell movie set, that for the next 5 years, I was overly critiquing everything I saw because I knew this camera shot and over the shoulder and how this would have been stopped and how many times they probably filmed this conversation and that type of thing. And it took me a while to get over that.
Now, before I do want to ask you about Tom DeLonge, but we'll do that in a bit. You're heading to L.A. You're going to be here next Tuesday speaking at UPARS here in L.A. with Steve Murillo, and then you head down to Orange County for Orange County MUFON. Is that the next day or 2 days? It's the next day. It'll be on
next
Wednesday?
Evening, right.
Okay. Now, all of the information for that, we're going to talk about it in just a second, but I'm sure Don's got it up on his Facebook page. UPARS has their meetup page. You can just do that. We'll get the links up for it. But that will be here in Studio City and then down in Orange County at Orange County MUFON on Wednesday night. And so what are you going to be speaking about?
I'm speaking, and we did the book 2 years ago now, but it's often, these are unsung heroes, and that being the children, the families of all of the primary Roswell witnesses from 1947, and the fact that they also lived in, the conditions of the same suppression, the same fear. For not having any answers, any knowledge of what their fathers, what their husbands had experienced, but nonetheless, they lived with someone who essentially lived in a bubble that was still controlled by the government right up until their passing, and they need someone to speak out for them, and that was the reason we did the book, The Children of Roswell, and that's what my two talks will be about, both Tuesday and Wednesday night. Children of Roswell.
The book is excellent, and I've had it. You were on the show when it was released.
Yes,
so
you did. Thank you.
And I've had it for about 2 years. The book is excellent, and you can just go to Amazon right there and order the book. And one of the great things about Amazon and ordering books, as we're talking about this ebook, printed book thing, Amazon, you just punch in Don Schmidt, Amazon, in your search, right? Goes straight to the Amazon page with you. And what's really cool is you've got an author's page, you've got, your bio, all of your releases are right there in Amazon, and they make it really easy to buy more than one book, right?
And we presently have 4 books that are in print. So, yes, you're absolutely correct about that. But I still like going into a Barnes and Noble, and it just has that atmosphere. I miss the Borders, I miss the B. Daltons and the Walden books and all the places that I originally did all the book signings, 20, 25 years ago.
And it shouldn't be considered ancient history, and you just brought up a good point. I mean, for a lot of people that weren't around for bookstores, if you're under the age of 20, 25, you may never have even seen a bookstore. And there was nothing like that experience. Nothing. The smell.
Roswell just lost a Hastings bookstore in Roswell, and it was their bookstore and their the record store for all these years, and to drive by and see that vacant building with still the Marquis Hastings,
Right.
and to listen to the townspeople all lament, the fact that we lost our bookstore, our only bookstore. Sad.
Yeah, here in L.A., as far as I know, there's a few small record stores, but there's only one left in L.A. There's one, Amoeba Music. And it's massive and it's cool, and it's half used and half new, but it's it. That's it. No more Tower Records. I mean, how is that possible? And
we're just just being nostalgic. I've kept a lot of my record albums just for the sake that maybe someday they'll be worth something, and you certainly can't replace them. But with music, we just have so many outlets, whereas with a book, it's still printed matter. It's still something that it's both audible and visual. Unless you're actually into music and, studying the lyrics and the sheet music itself, I can see where there's so many, different venues today for music. But let's hope that indeed that books are making a comeback.
The big the big announcement happened today with Tom DeLonge. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. And to me, it as much as we hope for the inevitability of disclosure, I realize that past attempts, past efforts, past considerations have all failed, and it's only because we've relied on the disclosers to finally come clean, to finally bring us into the fold and tell us what they know. And that's always been our mistake. I saw it with Dr. Jalen Hynek for a number of occasions in the past, where we're living in Evanston, Illinois, just north of Chicago, and he would be whisked away at all hours of the night for some big announcement at WGN, television or radio in downtown Chicago that something was coming from Washington. And I saw that fall apart on two separate occasions. And then after Hynek had passed away, we had another opportunity where we were told, there was going to be a major disclosure in Washington, and we were all supposed to prepare to make our way independently to Washington on a specific date. We weren't supposed to talk between ourselves, and it was all very hush-hush. And that, too, was just, a whisper in the wind type of thing. And I know Steve Bassett has been our champion as far as in all of his lobbying efforts, and for just the fact that he's devoted his life to the inevitability of disclosure, and how often, Jim, we've even talked that it's not going to happen in your lifetime, not in my lifetime, that type of thing. But then it comes down to, well, what if we force the issue? What will it take for us to finally, garner enough public support that there will be this groundswell of pressure that finally, even when you consider the last time Bill Clinton was on Jimmy Kimmel,
right,
this is all they talked about. That he went on that I had 8 years in the Oval Office and they wouldn't tell me the truth about this. Well, so we're in high company as well. So it's like the old Rockefeller initiative starting all over again. How do we enlist people in high positions to finally say enough is enough, and that we, too, demand the answers? Remember, like when Ben Rich with Skunk Works and his suggesting that we have technology and even that we have gone beyond the moon and that type of thing. Well, what if that is true?
But that's exactly what was so. And I have to, hats off to Tom. He really has put together a team that has never been done like this before. It's never been like this, and to have this public. This is an SEC filing of selling stock. So now the spending is in the public domain. You can vote if you're a stockholder, right? Now you can vote. You can, this is being handled like it's never been done this way before. Hats off. We're talking about a punk rocker, from San Diego that has pulled this off.
And what's sad is that in all of the anticipation that for the novice, it blew them away. They expected that there was going to, that he was going to come out, with a cadaver of an alien or something and say, it's all true, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's get on with the rest of our lives, that type of thing. It's been 70 years in the making as far as the cover-up. Let's hope it doesn't take 70 years to unravel, but nonetheless, it has to be done in stages. And I think that they are exercising the right approach in that lest they get shut down completely, unless they, are stopped dead in their tracks and we don't ever hear from any of them again, they have to do it incrementally. And I think that this is an approach that at least it's worth trying, and that by then drawing in even additional people, all of a sudden they get a Richard Branson, all of a sudden they get, other people. This is an opportunity that, Bigelow could now, once again, with all his work with NASA.
That's right.
Should be able to also step in. And there again, that's where we start, getting people in high positions to start leading the charge. Because as long as it's only those of us that more times than not, we're bickering and we're fighting and we're attacking one another, present company not included, we're spinning our wheels. We're not making any headway. And I, for one, as you know, Jimmy, and I know you're the exact same way, I don't need to waste my time with such people.
You can't.
Because they're not advancing the cause whatsoever.
That's exactly, man, it couldn't have been said better than the way you just put it, but I have been so vocal about that for so long. And,
yes, you have.
I don't know what else can be done. I have seen what I've seen in the skies. Nobody needs to tell me, that we're not alone, right? That part I'm okay with, but it's everybody else out there. How do we handle that? How do we do this? You know what? And I've said it from the beginning, and I'll say it again right now. Everything goes to the center of the table. All chips are in. We listen to everybody's approach. Not everybody is right. Not everybody. In fact, most of us are wrong about what's going on. We don't know. I haven't been abducted.
Any time, I'm introduced as an expert, it's like, how are you an expert on something that's still a mystery that remains unexplained? And as a result, there are no disciplines, and that's one of the reasons that at least back when there was an official government, Air Force investigation, we all could take sides. We all knew, what the playing field, what the boundaries were. And since that all was disbanded, I think that was part of their philosophy, that we would become like scattered sheep and just everybody, able to latch on to whatever they wanted to believe. Here we have an opportunity that once again we can establish as far as some specific parameters, that this is the focus, this is the direction we're going to go in, and let's see what we can shake loose.
Thank you so much, Don. We'll see you Tuesday here in Los Angeles at UPARS, and, of course, Wednesday evening down at Orange County MUFON. Don, bring your hairspray. Do me that favor. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks, Jimmy. You're a great friend. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Have a safe flight out.
Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Don. Don Schmidt, everybody. Tuesday night at UPARS here in Studio City. Wednesday night, Orange County MUFON. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with X-Man, John DeSouza. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply, and of course the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at KGRAradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Life Change Tea. GetTheTea.com. Just go to the specials page, click on the banner, head straight over, use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R, and you will get free shipping because you know somebody. Life Change Tea. I also want to remind everybody that tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. We'll have John Rappaport here for his No More Fake Newsroom Live. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. John DeSouza was an FBI special agent working for Counter-Terrorism and Violent Crimes for over 25 years. He was also an attorney and maintained a top-secret security clearance during his time with the United States government, known as the X-Man. He collected the true life X-Files that he shares in his books, and now his newest book, Clear Hearers. Tonight we're going to discuss his career in the FBI, real ET evidence, contact disclosure, and his new book, Clear Hearers. And the subject of this book is an eye-opener, and we're going to be discussing that all night long. Very excited to always have John DeSouza on the show with us. John, how are you, man?
I am great, Jimmy. It's great to be back on here with you on Fade to Black once again.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for that. But do you still have the ability to pull people over Can you like pull somebody? Do you look like, a cop?
I don't think so. And even if I had that ability, I don't think I'd like to do that. It looks like a lot of work, and I don't know. It just doesn't look like it's worth my while.
It's so funny because when you're hanging out in public, you're not. You're an intimidating guy. You're big. You're tall. Dark. Right. You look.
That's me.
Yeah. You look official. Right. You've got that aura about you. And if you really wanted to put the pressure on somebody, you could. I know that if I had any issues at a bar and you were there, I would just get louder and more belligerent because I knew you'd have my back.
There you go. Absolutely, Jimmy.
What'd you say, man? I didn't say anything, but have you seen my buddy sitting next to me? I can say whatever I want. John. Today was before we're going to get to the book, and the book is extraordinary and extraordinary. And the subject of the book is one that I think that anybody that after this interview is going to go and want to buy it for sure and read it, but they're going to relate to it too because I did. And we always want, I don't want to get to it yet, right? You know what I'm talking about. And we've always wondered about that. I have a friend, before we get to the book, his website, are you ready? I'm going to tell you what his website is. Oh, everybody's going to go to it. Oh, I can't say it. Oh, no. It's something like, I'm going to change it around a little bit, but it's something like thevoicesinmyhead.com. All right. It's something like that. All right. We'll get to that in a second. Today was a pretty extraordinary day for ufology and for those that have been begging for disclosure. And Tom DeLonge took the stage today, did a live stream this morning at 9 a.m. From Seattle. And I would say that everybody that is part of ufology, all the leading authors and researchers and names out there, they were all dialed in. I was watching the comments build up on the Facebook page where it was being broadcast from, and other areas too. Everybody was there. I saw the names. I saw the people commenting. Okay, what did you think? Let me just get your raw takeaway.
Well, I watched the entire thing, and I watched it from beginning to end. And my first impression is, always studying body language and cadence of speech and how people talk and the things that they say and how they say it. And there's no question that Tom DeLonge is a sincere, absolutely sincere, devoted individual in these areas. He's absolutely truthful, forthright, and he's a real believer in these areas, in the reality of UFOs, of alien visitors, and alien tech as well. So there's no doubt of that in my mind. And after seeing this speech as well, you can tell the real sincerity this guy has. So there's no question of that. Now, having said that, I can tell you, since I'm assuming most of your audience saw this live video stream as well, because it was such a big deal. Now, having said that, I have my own personal prejudices from my long career in national security of the United States, and also as a street agent, FBI agent in the streets, who was never a supervisor, never was in the upper offices of government, and I was very conscious about avoiding that. So when I see these guys who are up there with him, and who he's really bragging about, these guys were not like CIA agents. They were not guys on the street. They were like high officials in DOD and Department of Defense, at Secretary of Defense, at the CIA, and at Department of Defense, and others in other areas of government, in skunk works, at the secret contractor who does all the secret contracts. These were the guys that during my career I tried to avoid like the plague, because these were guys who usually were not working to disclose things to the American people. They were usually not. And so when I see them in this video commercial that touts all of their credentials. And some of these guys, in some cases, they've only supposedly left their government posts just days ago.
Right.
So I don't know. It just doesn't give me a good feeling, because these guys and the positions that they held in government, I mean, like I said, I was always just a street investigator, street agent. And the positions that these guys held, and in the organizations that they were in, like CIA, DIA, Department of Defense Intelligence, and Secretary of Defense. I mean, they were not the ones I would have picked to inspire confidence in disclosure to the American people. That's just my initial impression as far as that goes.
Do you think they disclosed anything today?
Well, I took notes as I went through that video.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I saw is that, of course, Tom DeLonge himself was able to speak pretty much off the cuff, with his own. But everybody else seemed to be using a teleprompter. Also, it was an empty theater with just, the camera pointed, and that they made the speech in. And I just didn't. It seemed to be a message that seemed to be kind of schizophrenic, because the overall message was there's going to be revolutionary technology. As a matter of fact, that phrase was used many times by many people. But then there was also a lot of talk about entertainment, that this is going to be entertainment. So those two areas are have nothing to do with each other. So it just makes me believe, well, which is it? Are they going to be revealing some revolutionary technology? Is this going to be a serious type of thing here that's going to disclose some alien tech, some anti-graft, some free energy? I mean, or is it just entertainment? See, that's the biggest fault in the language that I found throughout the whole presentation.
Well, I have the offering, right? I've got the entire document here, the SEC filing. And so they are doing 3 different divisions in the company. They have a technology division, and a science division, and another one that is entertainment for books, movies, multimedia, to present all of the information. And so that's the 3-pronged approach that they want to take. What I did find interesting, if that answers your question, why they were always referring back to entertainment, because it's very specifically detailed. In this SEC filing, as you can imagine, the legalese here is just ridiculous, right? It's I think it's only 17 pages. No, it can't be. It's got to be more than that. I'm seeing the page numbers here, but anyway, going through. Oh yeah, here it is. It's 63 pages.
Whoa! And why do they need an SEC filing for?
Because it's a stock offering. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a stock offering, and you can purchase stock back into the company, a minimum of $200 at $5 a share. And so what does that get you? $200, $5 a share. What's that? 40 shares.
Can I get a quarter of a share? Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't quite work that way. But you could, get some buddies together and get 3 more buddies, and you guys can all do it. So, but the breakdown and what they've done here in a public way is what is interesting, as opposed to any other UFO group or science group that studies ufology or the supernatural or anything like that. That's all private. Right. And, you're making donations or you're buying a membership or whatever it is. But that money, there's no accountability there. This is different. This is a public stock offering. So filed with the SEC. And so you've got everything that goes along with that, full disclosure. You can vote. Right. That's the thing. You're a shareholder now. You can vote. And having everything out there in the public, that's a bit different, because now all of the technology is disclosed. What they are working on is disclosed. The the part that so that's that side, and that's why they were talking about those three divisions today, and who they brought up to speak. Now, that being said, to do it like this and to put it out front, what I want to know is, and what it's been alluded to. Okay, the UFO question has been alluded to. What is it that they know? That's the thing here. What is it? Do you have to be a shareholder to get access to this private information, right? Are you going to be told certain things? I don't know. They talked about UFOs today. They talked about the Nimitz and that extraordinary incident in 2004. Right. Okay, I'm hip to all of that, but it wasn't what they didn't say today. And if anybody from the company is listening, or if Tom is listening, I'm sure Peter Levenda is listening, and others, if they would have stepped up and said, okay, this is what we do know, here is a piece of evidence, boom, and ran a videotape, right, and backed it up and said, okay, this is what the government has been sitting on. But
they did show drawings.
They did.
He said, in my notes, I see here, one of the things that stood out was he said, DeLong said, they need to set up a perpetual funding machine. And then I got the quote, he said, unimaginable technology, and he showed a drawing of something. I don't know what that was. And then he says, this impossible thing, and another drawing. Again, something that I couldn't tell what it was. So, yeah, there should have been a video demo, because this is speculative technology that they're talking about.
Right.
And there should have been some kind of video demo of what they actually have. And it was not there.
Well, I know that some were saying today, and if this presentation is going to get the bejesus, critiqued out of it over the next week or so in social media and UFO circles. But the fact that most people that watched the presentation today were expecting something. Okay, to have the big announcement be the formation of a corporation and stock to be sold to the public. If that was the big announcement, then if nobody got what they expected, if that was the big announcement, as opposed to the big announcement being, okay, here is a piece of data, here it is, and because of this, we are forming this corporation to move forward. This is some of the information that we have, and we are going public with this secret stuff. The thing is the oaths and the security clearances that must be on some of these guys current. They exist for 10 years after your employment, right? I believe. I could be wrong, but
no, mine don't. As far as the actual top secret clearance and so forth, that goes by increments of 5 years. 5 years. So if yours expired before you left the organization, then it's just not renewed. So most of them won't be under the actual, but they have, of course, they have obligations on secrecy for certain things. But my main point is, I don't understand. They were trying to blow us away with the credentials of these guys. And for me, it just did the opposite. I mean, I just don't see a guy who was in the directorate, who was in charge of the Directorate of Intelligence of the CIA, as somebody who has been out there informing the American people of things that they need to know. I just don't see that. And it doesn't give me a warm feeling inside some of the credentials of these guys. And, Tom disagrees. He felt that these credentials on these guys were unbelievable and are exactly what's needed for disclosure. But I disagree with that. I just don't see it at all.
Well, when you have somebody like, I'm going to speak in general terms here. I don't want to get too specifics. But if you have somebody, I almost feel like saying names. If you have somebody involved here that, let's say, worked for NASA or JPL, that had specific information about contact with ET, that they are here now, that they have visited in the past, and there's that they've had access to that information. Surely, even 5 years after you left NASA, you wouldn't be allowed to talk about that. I mean, I would say that's a lifetime ban on flapping the jaw. I would think.
Yeah, not directly. You can't, but there are ways that they can do that, and so it depends on how determined they are to talk about that sort of thing. Because we saw scientist Boyd, who was able to talk about what his experiences were with the Roswell technology and stuff that he was privy to after he retired from Skunk Works and was able to reveal things kind of indirectly as well.
Right. So what you're saying, and I just want to understand here. So it's a 5-year increments of 5. So at the end of 5, they could extend it for 5 more years if they think that it's important enough.
Or if you're not leaving, if you're leaving the organization, then your 5-year, it goes by 5 years, your clearances. So they would just allow it to expire, and then you don't have your top secret clearance anymore in your last year when you're leaving. And
in your case, what was it?
Mine expired like a year before I left in 2013. So I didn't renew it. And so I was clear of my top secret security clearance.
So you didn't have your last year with the FBI. You didn't even have a security clearance?
Well, you have it, but it's always in process. In other words, the background for it to renew, it goes on. It goes on for almost a year. So during that time, I retired. So there was no need to pursue the renewal of my secret security clearance anymore.
Interesting. Well, now, what about the other general feeling? Is this, and I've seen enough comments about this today that I know that this is a concern for a vast amount of our community here. Is there a possibility that when you have all ex-government dudes, right, that which is what you are touting, is there a chance here that this could be just a massive disinfo blunderbuss?
Yes, there is a chance of that. That's a chance that I see as a very real chance, and that's one of the reasons that these particular officials, former officials, they just don't give me a good feeling because of who they were and the positions that they held. So I just don't, but people can change, of course. People can change. They can have a change of heart. And, like, for instance, what you were saying before, like if they came across the piece of alien tech that just made them think, you know what, I am going to completely go against whatever the CIA has told me in the past, and I'm going to reveal to the American people, blah, blah, blah. But if that had been the case, they should have demonstrated something related to that today.
Yeah.
It should have been shown.
Yeah, and a couple of the one, I think his name is Jim Simivan. I could be wrong, but he was with the CIA until like 2007, 2008. When you were with the FBI, but when you are with a 3-letter organization like that, we talk about compartmentalization quite a bit here. Even in the CIA being exposed to certain things, whatever those secrets are, you certainly don't know it all. Do you think there's that Jim would be allowed to take alien information that he was exposed to with the CIA and just go and start working for a public company talking about the information that he was exposed to at the CIA about the alien question?
It depends on what it is. So, for instance, and I can just tell you, because if he was a field officer, which I don't believe this guy was, I think he was like a high official of some kind. But if he was a field operator, then you could come across data that has to do with alien visitors or alien UFOs, and you can just come across data that could be revealed at a later time because it's not connected to anything that's classified, and that could be revealed. There are ways that sort of data can just come to a person who's a field operator and just be revealed at a later time. But somebody who's a high official is not going to have contact. It's not going to have contact in the field to that sort of thing. That's why I can come into contact with all kinds of data that as an FBI special agent, I can come into contact with all kinds of data that comes to me that is not related to a classified matter. And that sort of thing happens all the time. And that's why the archives of the FBI at vault.fbi.gov are filled with UFO data and alien visitor data and cattle mutilations data that's filled the archives that are declassified in that archive, and anybody can look those up. And the reason that those are is because there's all kinds of data that's related to those types of cases that can be revealed to people, and that stuff is out there, but it's available only at the field level, at the level of investigations or queries in the field. That's what I'm saying. And
this is my positive spin on it, my take on it. And I've said this with anything, whether it's SETI and the SETI program or any programs that are out there trying to get these questions answered. We have to do this. The alternative of not doing it, then we don't know anything. The alternative of DeLong not pushing this forward, we have nothing. Right? So that's my take on it.
Yeah. And it's a positive thing that DeLong brings as a mainstream star who's very popularly known among the mainstream, is bringing these topics into the mainstream consciousness so that people who would never otherwise look at these things at all are actually taking the time to look at these topics and say, hey, this stuff could be real. Absolutely.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, John DeSouza. When we come back, we're going to be talking about his new book, Clear Hearers. The subject and what this book is about is an eye-opener, and it's one that I assure you've wondered about yourself. We're going to discuss all of that in depth. And, it's John, so that means we're going to probably go in about 8 million different directions. More with John DeSouza right after this short break. This is Fade to Black.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow John. I think it's just John. You know, he's got a strange Twitter handle. We'll get to that in just a second. John, what's your Twitter handle?
Oh, my Twitter. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I don't have it here.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. Is it John Tama Books?
Yes, John Tama Books.
Okay.
Twitter. And I need more followers, Jimmy.
Okay, well, there you go. Everybody go follow John DeSouza, John Tama Books. We'll put it up there. We'll get you some followers.
That was it.
Now, the book is called Clear Hearers. Yes. So let's start here for the audience that has never heard of a clear hearer before. What is a clear hearer?
A clear hearer is an individual that perceives a clear voice of authority that comes to them during times of crisis, that helps them, that uplifts them, sometimes saves their lives. And it's a common phenomena. It's something that is back in ancient history. It's actually started with Joan of Arc, the teenager who saved France when it was about to go out of existence in the 1400s. Then it was called clairaudience. It was basically a French word. So this is a pretty much I'm dusting off an area of the paranormal that really hasn't been in use in long time, and hasn't been known for a very long time. And clear hearers is just an English translation of clairaudience, which is the term for the individual that hears that voice, that perceives that voice of authority that comes to them during times of crisis.
What about Moses?
Yes, Moses, who spoke with God. And so that is something that was allocated to that historically. Now, if you want to know people who actually saw themselves as clear hearers, I can tell you Joan of Arc, of course, said that she attributed the voice that would come to her and tell her what she had to do for France, to save France. She attributed that to the voice of Mother Mary, being the voice of Mother Mary.
Right.
Also Socrates. Socrates had a very clear voice that would come to him during times when he needed to make difficult decisions. And he called it his daemon voice. And that's spelled D-A-I-M like Mary, O-N like Nancy. Daemon voice. And it was one of the reasons that he got in trouble with the Athenian government. There's been many, Philip K. Dick, the great writer, the great visionary writer.
Yep.
He also was a historical figure that had a clear voice that would come to him, and he had an exotic name for it as well, that would counsel him and help him to, he would say, avoid catastrophe and decisions that would be bad for him. So yeah, this is something that has existed throughout history, and it was usually called clairaudience, but now I'm bringing a new translation of the word to popularize its use as clear hearing.
Did you see? I posted it the other day. There's a really cool video of Philip K. Dick at a conference in 1977. Talking about parallel worlds, channeling downloads of information. We could be living in a computer simulation. This is an alternate reality. Have you ever seen that little presentation he does?
I've seen it many times. I've watched it over and over again.
Is that the most bone-chilling view of the future, like ever, right? Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's a little disconcerting, but yeah, Philip K. Dick used to have the one voice that would come to him, and he also had a young lady that he didn't know what she was, who would come and visit him, and he had lots different sources for his visionary thinking.
And he's a special dude.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm talking down to him, calling him a dude, but man, what a special dude. Yeah, I can't stress enough his view of the future, how spot on he was, considering it was 40 years ago. That's the first 40 years ago. And for it to be exactly word for word what we are talking about today in scientific circles, in the supernatural circles, in the science fiction circles, right? In the political circles. It's exactly what we're talking about today. And it was in 1977. And the audience was pretty much in shock, listening to him during that presentation. But, you go back and just stop and think about the world that we live in today, and the possibilities are endless today. But he was directly talking about this 40 years ago. The reason why I bring up Moses. And I also wanted to bring up is because so many community leaders or religious leaders 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago would come and say, okay, this is what we have to do because I was just told blah, 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 right?
Right.
We need to harvest plants now, right? Whatever it was. But do you think that it was the great voice that we've been attributing to God or channeling or maybe even illness or sickness or schizophrenia, like in the case of Joan of Arc, for instance?
Well, Joan of Arc was definitely a clear hearer. She heard a very clear, she perceived a very clear voice of authority that would help her and advise her on what to do and what not to do and how she could save France. And I talk about that in my book. And being a clear hearer is very different from voice hearing. Voice hearing is basically people who are opened up to confused voices of any sort that are usually voices that are confusing, that are hard to hear, that are one of the symptoms of medical conditions. So yeah, that's voice hearing, and that's very, very different from clear hearing, because. And one of the things in my book that I was able to get, which is I was able to get the great Jason Quitt to write the foreword for my book. And one of the reasons I did that was because he has actually experienced both. He's experienced voice hearing, being a voice hearer, and also being a clear hearer. And that's what he explains in the foreword to my book. He explains when he was a teenager, he was given the wrong medicine, some codeine, during a minor surgical procedure. And it opened the gateways for this bunch of voices that just started yelling at him and making all kinds of noise, and yet he was not able to understand the words. It wasn't really articulable for him, and it just went on. He consulted with his physician. It was a terrible episode for him. And then he consulted with his physician, and the physician said, okay, no more codeine ever again. And they crossed it off his list of admissible, and he never had another situation like that ever again. But many years later, he was started on his road to becoming a great shamanic teacher and healer by a voice, a clear voice that visited him, that was perceived not through the ears, but through his heart chakra. And it was a voice that said to him, he was just sound asleep, and the voice came to him and said to him, do you wish to see your past lives? And he was kind of half asleep, and he said no, and wanted to go back to sleep. And then the voice came back again, terse sentence, do you wish to see your past lives? And after about the third time, he finally said, yes, I would like to see and then the voice brought him images and visions of his past lives. It was an amazing adventure where he was transported, and he was able to see the different adventures that his different incarnations had in different worlds, most likely. And it was an amazing experience. And that was his clear hearing experience. And he explains, and he's the only person I know that's had both types of experiences. So it was great to get him to write the foreword where he explains, and you can see vividly the difference between the two types of experiences right away.
And when this happens, okay, let me talk about your own experience with it. When it came with tell me about the first time, because I can imagine that you are thinking it's your imagination. That's got to be the first thought. Hopefully, because if it's another thought, then it will be a bit weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
when when I write my books, the only way I know to write my books is to put in a lot of my own personal experiences with the paranormal. It's the only way I can do it. And so, like, about a third of my book, The Clear Hearers, is my own experiences and the experiences of my family as I was growing up as well, because we were all involved in these experiences. So my first experience, I would say. The first one was when I was a teenager. I was a teenager in New York City growing up, and I was in my dad's. My dad had gotten divorced, and he was with my stepmother that I did not get along with. We were in New York City, but we were in Queens, in an area that was more like suburbs, more even, I would say, even kind of opened up to rural type area. And it was the late 70s, and anybody who grew up in New York City would remember this. In the late 70s, there was a snow blizzard, that was the worst snow blizzard in the history of New York State. It was phenomenal. It was like a 200-year storm. It went on for like 3 days and nights. It was incredible, the scope of this snowstorm. And at that particular time, I was going through a terrible period. I had to be about 15 years old. I was about 15 years old, and I was going through a terrible depression because my father's wife, my stepmother, she did not get along with me, and she was treating me psychologically, abusing me. And I was telling my dad I wanted to leave his house and go live with my mom. And my dad had made it clear to me that I would never, ever go live with my mom. I could never escape his home under any conditions. And I fell into an even worse depression at that point. I left my dad's house the worst night of the snowstorm. I mean, the worst night and I was kind of walking out aimlessly into the outer reaches of residential areas, and I barely had a light little jacket on, and jeans, and I wasn't trying to consciously do myself harm, but I just wanted to escape. I just was walking aimlessly in the worst snowstorm of 100 years in that area. And it was accumulating everywhere. And I finally got away from residential areas. I was just walking straight line. And I was starting to freeze. It was nightfall already. I was starting to freeze. And I looked around and there was nothing. I had gotten away out of residential areas and I was looking around. Everything was covered with snow. There was just snowbanks everywhere. At the distance, all I saw was a red brick building that appeared to be either a public school or a prison, one of those two. There was nothing else around. And I was beginning to freeze. I could feel my legs. And I just kind of fell forward into a snowbank at that point. And I just stayed there, and I was beginning to just slip away. I found out later when you freeze to death, it just feels like you're going into wonderful slumber, like you're just going into a wonderful sleep. And that's what I felt at those moments. And I was just kind of letting go. Everything was kind of frozen. I couldn't feel my body anymore, and I was just letting go. And suddenly everything was shattered by just a single phrase, "Get up."
Wow.
And
wow. Okay.
I shifted around.
Right.
And tried to see who that was coming from. And it came again, very loud, "Get up." But it wasn't coming through my ears. It was like exploding in my head. It was a strange way to describe it, but that's how it felt. It felt like if you're next to one of those giant speakers that vibrates you. And that's what it felt like. It was vibrating me, that voice. And I could barely move to even look around and see, but there was nobody around. And I just was, and my voice was even gone. I was so frozen, and I barely was able to croak out the question, "Why?" And then the voice said again, "Get up," and showed me images. I was transported to a vision, an image of something that was happening or could happen. And I was in my dad's house. I was transported to my dad's house, and I saw my dad by a phone that he had just hung up. And somehow I was able to tell that he had just been told his son's body had been found somewhere out in the outer reaches of the neighborhood in the snow, and that his son had died. And I saw my dad's shoulder shaking, and I saw a whiskey bottle, which my dad had quit years ago, and it was a couple of empty shot glasses there. And I saw his shoulder shaking because it appeared he was crying. And in the back, my stepmother, who I had so much problems with, was pacing back and forth, and she was yelling to no one in particular, I'm glad he's gone. He was a rotten, no good kid.
What?
I don't feel, she was yelling, I don't feel bad for him at all. And she was pacing back and forth. And what's funny is she had actually said those words to me earlier that week. So as soon as I saw that, I was taken away from the vision. I was back in my body, and seeing that scene was exactly what would motivate me. Somehow the voice knew, and it just heated up my insides. I was so angry at seeing that scene, and I heated up.
How old were you, John? We have to continue this, but how old were you?
I was about 15.
You were 15. Was this the storm in New York? Was this 1978?
I think so, yeah.
Now, here's the thing. So you're 15 years old. That means that you've got a good solid 3 or 4 years of just messing with that woman's life now, right?
Luckily I moved out of there. Soon after I survived this incident.
You didn't spill drinks on her or drop food on her every opportunity, or trip her, or maybe pushed her down some stairs, anything like that?
No, after that, I was able to start moving my limbs little by little. I was able to start walking a little bit, and I don't know how, because I was completely frozen. I did have to go to the hospital to check my extremities to make sure I didn't lose them after that. And so I was in the hospital, but at least I was alive. And
I was referring to the future, and I was just kind of making light of the whole thing, but I don't know how. Step parents are difficult enough, right? Okay. Oh, yeah, I get that. I've had my share of step parents, right? So I understand that part of it. But for her to say that to you before the incident, for you to have the vision, right, to leave your body and then go and see your father, how upset she is, she's not consoling him. She's saying, I'm glad that he's gone. How did you deal with her for after that? I mean, in real life.
After I recovered from that incident and I didn't lose any of my fingers or toes, thank God.
Right.
I basically, my mom was able to bring things together so that I went to live with her, and I basically never saw my stepmother again after that.
Oh, okay. Man, the evil stepmother.
Yeah.
The evil stepmother, man. I got your back, John. I got your back.
Thanks,
so, now what did this, so you recover, and as you're, let's move ahead just like 2 days after this, right? 2 or 3 days after. You're going back and you're recalling the voice, right? Yeah. And these things that happen. What were you telling yourself what the experience was?
I had no idea. The only thing I knew was that I had to be careful who I spoke to about this. And the only person that I could actually even mention this to, definitely not my dad. He was not somebody to tolerate that sort of thing.
Right.
But my mom, my mom, Neela, she's a person who was a very powerful psychic, and she was a person who was open to talk about anything. And I remember the phone call when I told her about my experience, and I couldn't hold it in, and I told her the entire experience over the phone. And like I said, this book is a lot about my family too. And I told her the entire experience. I just kind of blurted it out, and the phone line went dead. And I was thinking I was gonna just hang up, and then I just heard some activity on the line, and she asked me, "Was the voice in your head, or did you hear it through your ears?" And that's when I knew I hit the right person with this information.
Well, that's my question to you. How did you hear it? Was it in your head or in your ears?
No, it was in my head. Absolutely not through the ears at all. And that's what I found as I started studying this, because when I had this incident, it just awoke in me a urge to keep studying this phenomena and to see what's going on. These experiences were really one of the main things that motivated me to become an FBI agent, to become a professional investigator.
Right. What's the difference between hearing this in your head or your ears? What's the difference?
It seems like it's just a difference of result, because when people get these things through their ears, it's a much more chance of it just being some physical phenomena,
right?
Some physical phenomena that could be created by the outside world. But here's one of the things, and I lay this out because my book is like an investigative file also, and I lay these clues out, just inch by inch, and just comparing people's experiences, and it just appears that clear hearers who get these short statements. And Philip K. Dick said this. He said, these are short, clear statements from a higher intelligence,
right?
That is here to help you and to uplift you in your most terrible moments. And he says they are always these are the hallmarks of this voice. That could even be the same voice, the same entity for all of us. We don't know. So that's what this investigation was about. But it seems that when people get the physical through the ears, it seems like it's more, it tends to go more with voice hearing incidences. That's what it seems like. Because clear hearers all have the same hallmarks, the same clues, the same qualifications that happens to them. There's been clear hearers who get the voice through the chest. As weird as that sounds, they appear to get the voice through the chest. And then other people say, well, it's not the voice, it's not the chest, it's the heart chakra that creates the voice. And I don't even know how that would work, but I've got the testimony. It's there. People say they receive the voice through their chest. And others just say the voice seems to come like it's coming from a giant speaker at a concert. It just comes through their bodies. It vibrates right through their bodies. And that's how they receive it. And others just right inside the head, they just feel the voice. They do not hear it. That's just how it is.
Now, what about the cases where this is occurring to somebody and they go to, maybe they consult with a friend or a relative, but they end up going to a doctor, right? And they get some crazy diagnosis. Here, take this medicine, and stun them into submission, right? Turn them into a zombie. What do we do with a case like that? Because this could be happening, but there could be cases where it could be an actual psychosis of some kind.
Yeah, they could be. And people who do have voice hearing incidences, for whatever reason, they should seek out help, and they should get help for that. But clear hearing is something completely different. And yeah, you do have to be careful who you talk to about these incidences, because they could be a clear hearer could be misdiagnosed, and clear hearers don't really need help, because the great voice, one of the hallmarks of the great voice that comes to people in these incidences, is that the great voice always comes to help them, to benefit them, to lift them up, to do something for them. And that's why in my book I recall incidences where, people's lives are saved. And that's how they know they don't have a problem. This is not schizophrenia. This is not voice hearing. That this is actually clear hearing, and that's what makes the huge difference.
Where did the term? We've got to about a minute and a half here. Where did the term "great voice" come from?
Oh, that's something that I specifically wrote to assign to the entity that is reaching out for us, and that's something that I came up with, and I think it's appropriate because it's always this great voice. You see, voice hearers tend to hear whispering, muttering. They hear these little voices. That's part of the hallmarks of that schizophrenia type of experience. The great voice is always loud, clear, articulate.
Right.
It's very well understood because it's meant to be understood. Some people say that's one of the reasons why the great voice doesn't speak in paragraphs, because it doesn't want to be misunderstood. It wants to be understood loud and clear. And so that's another hallmark of it, that it is a great voice. It is clear, it is loud, and it is well understood. And that's
right. No, there's no question about what the message is. And not speaking in paragraphs, we're talking about a few words that are direct and mean something.
Yes, exactly. Almost like a higher intelligence talking to a lower intelligence and doesn't want to be misunderstood, that sort of thing.
Could it be 30 seconds? You can almost say yes or no. Would some people maybe misinterpret this as God?
Oh, people do all the time, yes. And I have people in my book, witnesses, who they will never admit that it's not anything but God or Jesus. And it doesn't matter what you show them or what you prove to them.
Right, there you go. I'm laughing with you, not at you or my audience. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, John DeSouza. We're discussing his new book, Clear Hearers. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi, I'm Matt Ray for U.S. Gold Bureau. I cover the market daily. No matter how strong it gets or what long-term predictions say, you can count on one thing as certain. There will be another crash. It will affect your assets. And when it happens, wouldn't you rather be 2 weeks or even 2 months ahead of the curve? Well, Wall Street insiders have been quietly converting their assets into gold for the last few years. Now it's your turn. Buying gold and silver is easier than buying stocks with the U.S. Gold Bureau's Investor Guide. It's free, and you learn how to buy precious metals in or out of an IRA or 401k retirement plan. Your investment's shipped directly to your home and is 100% insured and guaranteed. You control your investments and shelter them against the stock market, politics, and unknown threats. Act while your dollar is still worth something. Call U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD. U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD, 800-885-GOLD. Call today.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio. Come and hang out with us. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. We use TweetDeck, by the way. Hashtag F2B. All the chat rooms are open over at KGRA The Planet. And, of course, Spreaker. Our guest tonight, John DeSouza. We're talking about his new book, Clear Hearers. And, John, what's interesting here is... Jason Quitt just called. He said the great voice just told him that he was not to call the show, that I had to call him and beg. So that's what I did. Jason, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Great. It's good to be here, Jimmy, and hello, John.
Jason, thanks, man, for calling in. How you doing?
How you doing? You hear that? How you doing? How you doing? Jason, you wrote the foreword to the book. And let me ask you, did you write the foreword to the book before you read it, or did you write the foreword after?
After.
So, did it influence the foreword to the book?
Absolutely. In fact, the book gave me a whole lot of interesting clarity, because what John did in the book was give many different accounts and definitions for what each type of voice is. And, you know, I've had all these different experiences, and I've even discussed many of them on your show with you, of different voices and experiences. And what I found absolutely fascinating about John's book was that he actually explained a lot of the things behind some of my journeys and brought a lot of clarity to me. So not only did I read the book, but John and I had many, many discussions about what each voice is, or what each voice's purpose is. And when I started to hear these different voices, I really didn't know where they were coming from, or if they should be trusted, or what kind of information was being given to me. And when he started to speak about this big, great voice that just says, honestly, it's just a couple words, and it's so clear that it gets you to act. And I've had these experiences in my life, and when he started to explain it to me, I said, John, this book, once it gets out into the public, you're going to have so many people calling in or emailing you with testimonials that this booming voice came to them and it literally saved their lives.
Yeah, and which is, if I cut you off, I apologize, but which is when I started the show tonight, the way that I wanted everybody to understand this is I am sure that everybody has at one point in their lives had this experience, right? And you need to understand what is going on, and that's what's most important. You're absolutely right, Jason. I can only imagine the amount of email and contact that DeSouza is going to get off of this, because it's something that is nearly universal. It would have to be. I wanted to ask you that right before the break, we were talking about, is this something that, is it a sensation that is inside of your head, or it is, coming through your ear? For you, Jason, how does it happen?
It's actually, it feels like it's right in your head. And when John was describing the story of me taking codeine and I had all these voices yelling at me in my bedroom, I actually tried to use my hands to cover my ears. And I realized that I couldn't change the volume no matter what I did with my ears. So it was not coming directly through the ears, it was coming directly through my head. And when the different voices started to come later in life, many people will call it channeling or the great voice. When those voices came to me, they were not only in my head, but most of them came in my own voice. It was my own voice talking within the head.
That's interesting. Let me throw this over to John. John, in your research, you just said, So I don't think you've heard this before, have you?
No, not from Jason. No, that's pretty interesting.
But what about yourself? The voice that told you to get up out of the snow before you freeze to death, young man, right? Before that, whose voice was that?
I believe also, looking back on it, I believe also that it was my own voice as well. But it's not really fair to say that, because it's a voice that is one that you've never used yourself, you see.
Right.
It's a voice of authority. So it's, unless you're like, it's not going to be a voice that people recognize. About half the witnesses I talked to in my book, some of them recognize a voice like their own, but many others don't. And I believe that the reason they don't recognize their own voice there is because there's an authority to it that they have never used in their lives, and who knows, they ever will. So that's why they don't recognize their own voice inside that voice.
Now, what about this instance? You are you're hang gliding, right? You got a cliff in front of you. You're on Mount Kilimanjaro, 19,000 feet, right? And you're with your buddies. And you know what? Don't do it, dum-dum, right?
Yeah. Right.
Is that the great voice?
Yes, except that, and people who've had this experience will resonate with it, except that then the person, the hang glider, will keep on doing what they want to do because they don't really believe this voice is real.
Right.
And so they'll keep on doing what they want to do, and the voice will repeat Again, dummy, don't do that.
Right.
Don't go that way.
Right.
And then they still won't listen to it. But then the great voice appears to have the ability to bring images, visions to the person and show them how exactly they are going to crash and end up a crumpled ball of whatever.
Right.
If they don't listen. And so it will enforce those visions onto the person in a millisecond. But that will maybe seem like 5 minutes. And once those images go through the person's mind, they will finally say, oh, I better listen to this and do what they say. And they will change course. And that's typically very much like that. It's interesting that you came up with that example, Jimmy, because there's several instances throughout my book where people were in almost exactly that situation. And were resisting.
Hear it. Yeah, John, we hear it all the time, right? So they take the jump, they crash, they break their arm, break their leg, they're in the hospital, and their loved ones are there, and they say those famous words. Man, a voice told me not to do it. Right? Yeah. I mean, how many? I can hear myself saying it actually, but they still do it anyway. That's the interesting part. So that could be the great voice in those instances. And when I say that everybody's had these experiences, there's an example of it right there. Don't cross the street. Don't, or maybe you should. Yeah. Don't buy that scratcher. Buy the other lottery scratcher. Right? Whatever it is. This does happen, and it happens a lot. Now, what about those? I'm going to throw this over to Jason, then I want you to answer, John. Jason, what about those that don't ever have heard the voice, the great voice? Are they the rare instance? Are they the exception?
No, I think that I would say we're all born with, let's say, a little voice. And when you're a child and and everybody goes through this, they're going to go steal something from a store for the first time. And they get this feeling within them. They get physically sick because they know they're doing something wrong. That's kind of like a little voice telling them, you shouldn't be doing this. But as people age, we kind of numb those sensations. We numb those feelings. So we kind of go all over the place and we don't listen to our inner guidance. And sometimes when we get ourselves into a really bad situation, the only thing that will work is this great voice that comes to us and says, don't do this. And it will give us a vision so we don't kill ourselves or get into a big amount of trouble.
Go ahead, Jason.
But I know many people that have an inner voice, but because of their belief systems and the way they've grown up, they just, they don't really listen to it. They don't really accept that there is an inner guidance within them, and they're always finding themselves in trouble. And they know it. They know, I should have listened to myself. I knew I shouldn't have climbed that ladder and cut that tree because I broke both my legs. But they still go and do it because they're stubborn.
John, what do you think about that? If somebody has never heard the voice or had it, is that normal?
I don't think so. I think, but then again, that's because I've been talking to dozens and dozens and dozens of witnesses that have all heard the great voice at some point, a clear voice of authority that comes to them and saves their lives. Shortly after the experience where I was able to get out of my dad's house, I was still a teenager, and I was walking, visiting some relative somewhere in Queens, New York, and school had just let out. And I was out in the sidewalk, and I was getting ready to walk between these two cars to cross the street.
Right.
And suddenly I just heard this very loud, clear, stop. That's it. And I froze. I just froze. And a smaller kid with a backpack jumped in front of me and almost knocked me over because he had an oversized backpack on him. Almost knocked me over. It was really rude. And I was just And I just looked around to see who had said stop. And as I was doing that, the kid who had just jumped in front of me and crossed the street, he got smashed by an old Chevy that had been rocketing through the neighborhood. And he was killed on the spot. I mean, he was crunched, and he was just killed right there. And myself, I just said within myself, oh my God, that should have been me. And again, I was looking around to see where that stop had come from, and I couldn't see it. And that again continued to pique my curiosity about that. I had to find the source of this voice. I had to find out what this really was.
What is the source?
The source is actually after, and I put together a case for this very, very methodically throughout my entire book. I lay out the investigative case, and ultimately it appears the source is ourself, but it is a version of ourself that is very difficult for us to understand. It is the spark of yourself that existed before you came to this incarnation and that exists after you are in incarnation. The source of yourself, an entity that barely remembers being you, being this little flesh-covered thing that wanted to get things and do things and get stuff. And so it's a version of yourself that is different, that has a hard time understanding what it was like to be you, but that still loves you, though, that loves you and wants to get you through this particular life. And if people want to skip ahead, that is revealed on page 145 of my book.
Well, and it doesn't have to be some life-threatening situation. I don't want anybody here to be thinking that it's got to be some life-threatening situation. I can tell you one instance. I've had this. We've all had this a few times. But I was driving, and I was like in the 35 mile an hour zone. I'm comfortably just cruising along at like 50, 60 miles an hour, and I'm going over this hill. I'm going up a hill, about to go over, and I swear, just like somebody just yelled at me, "Slow down! There's a cop." Right? And I was like, what? And so I backed off. I went right down to 35 miles an hour on the other side of the hill. Dude, sitting right there with his radar gun. Now, that's not a life-threatening situation. And that is just something that when it happens,
right,
it's okay.
Now, that could be the still small voice that everybody has, which is always guiding you, counseling you, advising you. The problem is, Jimmy, that most people, like Jason said, they stop listening to their small, still voice.
A long time ago.
Yeah, they ignore it. They put it aside. And that's when the great voice sometimes has to come into play. That's one of the hypotheses I have in my book.
Now, what about, we've got enough time. What about those that call themselves a prophet? That they are listening to the great voice, and that they are a clear hearer, and they have been told that such and such a date is the end of times. Now we have a situation where there are people out there that also hear things and believe that this person is hearing this. What do we do with that?
Yeah, I think those people always have to claim to be connected with God, I believe. And that seems like that's how they always approach that sort of thing. But, and also, you have channelers who always are channeling, ancient warriors and entities, and people have more knowledge supposedly than we do. So that sort of thing is always out there. But clear hearing is something completely different. It is completely different. And one of the reasons is because it empowers the individual, whereas channeling and the prophets who declare God's pronouncements, they're empowering somebody else, something else over your life. But clear hearers, and as because I explain in my book how people can actually learn to do this themselves, to reach that greater self that's out there that is just waiting to help them out of love and care for what they are. And it's doable. It can be done. And it usually comes out at first during life-threatening situations. For some reason, I don't know why that is, but that seems to be what spurs the first incidences of that sort of thing. And it's always very, very different from any sort of prophets of God or channelers either. It's very, very different from that sort of thing because it's a very personal experience that goes directly to the person and comes back to the same person.
How do we differentiate from somebody that is full of BS and somebody that is really, really, really trying to warn us and bring a message? Like, for instance, if Joan of Arc was alive today, right, and was speaking the way she is speaking today, it could be France.
Oh, I see.
Or anything, just pick a political situation right now, right? North Korea, Russia. If she was alive today, what will we do with her today? Will we also condemn her and call her sick? How do we tell the difference? How do we know? Because there are successful channelers out there that are really good, that are making connections. There are other people out there that are profiting from hocus pocus.
Right. Well, Joan of Arc was a very rare experience, even for a clear hearer.
Right.
Because her experiences involved actually two nations that were locked in combat with each other. Mm-hmm. And so she had also Winston Churchill had voices that he would use that his doctors were very concerned about. But those are very, very rare. Usually, clear hearing experiences are very personal. They are from the great voice, and they involve the individual. And the individual's benefit and helping them individually. Clear hearing experiences almost never go wider to other people. Like this is what I got in my clear hearing experience, and now I'm going to tell you so they can help you too. It's almost always, and I've studied maybe 200 cases over the years of this. Once I got done with my own experiences as well, and so it's very, very rare that involves other people. So I don't think it's really a concern on that level as far as that goes.
Jason, if somebody tells you that they come up to you and I've been channeling so and so and so and so, or I'm a channeler, what's your test? I know that you're a smart guy, man. So how do you figure that out?
Well, I'll just say that with channeling, the way that I figure it out is that if a person is coming from, let's say, like ego, like you are this, great king, great Buddha, and you're here to save the planet. Right when it starts to get into an ego-based, boosting your confidence, I say, you know what, that's not the voice I want to listen to. That's kind of my...
Right. I wanted to... I'm going to go right now. Daryl Anka, right? Bashar. Fascinating. Absolutely. When you watch him speak and go into Bashar mode, he nearly physically changes. There's something else that's going on here. His vocabulary is different. His speech speeds up. It's very quick. It's very clear, his thought. And I really enjoy Bashar. I don't know what is, he's been a guest on the show and he's a successful actor. And I get all of that where we can easily question him. But when you have somebody like that, how do we sell ourselves on it? How do we get past it?
Well, I mean, a lot of these channelers will bring a lot of hope and confidence to people, help them out of situations that they may be in. But we really don't know what type of entity is being allowed in their consciousness to speak through them. And I know from experience that entities with various agendas would love to speak through people, and they'll use vocabulary that will make us feel warm inside. And, you can listen to a channel that's like 20 pages long, and they've just said nice words, but there's no substance to it.
Right.
So it's like, what type of energy, what type of entity or consciousness is being allowed to filter through this person? And it is a form of possession. Channeling is a form of allowing something else into their consciousness to come into this world. So we just have to be a little educated and be aware that that is the process. So there are very good channelers out there. There are very conscious entities that would like to help us. But, just because they're outside of us doesn't make them higher than us or better than us. They all have their own agendas, and they all have their own reasons for doing this.
If anybody's ever wanted to check out Bashar, look, just go and do this. Bashar on time travel. Go watch that video. Go and listen. As a matter of fact, close your eyes and just listen to Bashar speak about time travel. Where, going back to your point, Jason, and also you, John, this isn't about saving humanity, right? It's not about ego. This is a technical conversation on time travel. Now, that is it's an example of something taking over somebody's vocal cord, somebody's tongue, somebody's mouth, somebody's brain, right? Mm-hmm. And overriding the system and getting this out. It is a bizarre presentation. You should go and everybody just go and check out Bashar on time travel. Now, we're getting a little sideways here when we're talking about channeling, but the thing is, when somebody out there is talking about hearing a voice, in some instances, it could be channeling. Others, it is a religious-based situation. And so could the great voice, could clear hearing be confused as being from God?
Oh, yes, it is all the time. Like I told you, Jimmy, I have witnesses that I've interviewed who have clear hearing experiences that have all the hallmarks of the great voice and clear hearing. And everything's there. I mean, it's the loud, clear voice that gives short instruction. I have a young lady who was in a car crash. What was she? She was driving. She was driving through New Jersey at night in the worst part of winter, and there was a lot of ice that had formed underneath the bridge, and her car happened to slide in front of this giant 16-wheeler that was barreling up next to her and trying to pass her. And she hit some black ice, and she slid underneath the truck as it was coming. And the truck didn't break stride, didn't even try to brake, and she just heard the words, "Turn left." And before she could even think, she saw her arms responding and turning the steering wheel hard left, as hard as she could. And what it did is it shifted the car so that the back of the car was completely destroyed by the tires of the truck. And she survived, in other words, where she should have been killed. And the truck just kept going. And she was by the side of the road. She got out. She was without a scratch because she shifted the vehicle just a few inches to avoid her being squashed. But the rest of the car was squashed. But there was a little bubble where she was driving. That was all that was left. And people who came by and saw the wreck of her vehicle said, "Where's the cadaver that came out of here?" And she said, "I'm the person that came out of there." And they were shocked. They couldn't believe that she had survived because that car was like a pancake. And it was an amazing, and if that voice hadn't told her, she would not have survived.
Our guest tonight, John DeSouza. We've got Jason Quitt here with us too. Jason, you want to stick around?
Sure, I'll stick around.
Absolutely.
All right.
And this is Fade to Black. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat. Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Oh, there it is. I can't help myself. I got to do it. Just click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. and use the promo code F2B Blend. There you go, because you're a fade or not. Our guest tonight, John DeSouza. We have Jason Quitt here, too. He's writing in the background. And I'm holding up to the bunker cam. I'm just going to do this to everybody. Check this out. What does that say? This is a gift from my daughter. That's right. That is Martian poop soda. And, you know, the good thing about this, and it's in the bottle, it's pure cane sugar. Now, that's one, and here is another one. This one is straight Martian soda. As you can see, it's purple. How cool is this? Now, what do? You get a really cool gift like this, guys, from your children, right? Martian poop soda and Martian soda. It's really cool. But you can't drink this, can you? You've got to leave these just have to sit on the shelf with the soda intact.
No, you got to drink it and then eat the worm or the poop in the bottom too.
You would suggest drinking this?
Yeah, and you keep the empty, and then you keep the empty so they can see that you actually drank it.
Oh man, Jason, would you drink it?
Probably not.
Man, I've been wondering what it tastes like, and yeah, maybe I should. But the thing is, man, I like where John is going with this. Yeah. I'm going to wait for the great voice.
Drink it while you're on there. You got the great voice just told me already.
Okay, there you go. The great voice. Now, what do we do, John, with this? Is the great voice... Okay, let me give you an example, the short version. Is the great voice universal? Or it appears to be... Is it the same voice for everybody, the same source of intelligence? Or is it an individualized program, almost like a spirit guide? Because how could God possibly, I'm saying God, know everybody's life all day long, every single day of every single living soul on this planet, what they are doing right from wrong? So, so what are we doing? Is the great voice universal?
Yes, I think it is, and I think it is individualized, like you said. Like, for instance, the young lady I was telling you about before the break who was in the horrible car accident where her life was saved by hearing the great voice. She was a very religious individual. She was a very religious person. I write about her in my book. And she told me the experience many times, insisting again and again, it was the voice of God. It was the voice of Jesus. It was the voice of God. And she would alternate between Jesus and God. And then one time I asked her to please close her eyes, just close her eyes and just focus and concentrate on the quality and tenor and remembrance of what the voice was like. No matter, because I told her, I know it's very loud and authoritative, so it's kind of hard to tell, but just try to remember, close your eyes and listen and try to remember. And her eyes came open and she said, oh my God, it was a woman's voice that sounded like mine. And she couldn't believe it. She was more shocked than anyone because she was very adamant in her religious beliefs. And I kind of expected that reaction because that's what I get when all the hallmarks of the great voice are there. Every single item and there's a list. There's a list of clues that point to the great voice. But when all those items are there, usually the person is able to recognize an individualized entity, an individualized voice that comes back to them.
What about, okay, we've talked a lot about warnings, right? Life and death situations. And clearly there's a lot of evidence for that. I've had my own experience, and everybody has tasted that. But what about something that is specific? A set of directions. Go to another state, and a specific set of instructions to go and do something. Is that the great voice as well? And do you listen to it and act upon it?
Yes, I do. And yes, it can be. As I found out later, and I write about later in my book, my understanding of the great voice did go through an evolution, and it did become longer messages, sometimes messages left overnight, kind of like an imprint, like a Post-it note on your forehead. That just left longer messages and so forth, depending on the situation too.
Well, give me an example.
Oh, well, let me tell you. I had an experience when I was with my kids, and this was later in life when I had my own family, and I had an example where I had taken my kids. I was assigned to Washington, D.C. for a year, and this is just and it was the first time I was able to bring my boys were probably about 8 and 10 years old at the time, or maybe, right about there. And one of them, we went to something that, if anybody's been in DC, they would know about this. They have some escalators in DC that are several stories high, that go, everybody sees those escalators at the mall. They're just one floor. These escalators go like 5 or 6 stories. They're huge, enormous achievements of technological know-how. They're enormous. And I have pictures of these as well. And if anybody's been on them, it's kind of intimidating because they just go on. It looks like they go on for half a mile down into the bowels, and some of them have tunnels with them, and they're pretty amazing. Anyway, I had my 2 sons on during that vacation, and they were running back. And the thing is, that part of DC was desolate. There was nobody else around because there was some kind of huge event going on the other side of town. So we were close to a mall, and we were on one of these giant escalator things. And because there was no one else around, my 2 boys were very young. They had their ball caps on, and they were running back and forth on these escalators. And I wasn't paying attention too much, and my older son got really far ahead of us on one of these giant escalators that go on for like 5 stories. And it just got too far ahead of me. I kind of didn't keep an eye on him. And I was telling my boys, and because there was no one else around. So they were kind of getting further and further away from me. So I called my younger boy to come closer to me, and he came back. And then I called out to my older boy, who was maybe about 200 feet away from me, further down the escalator as we were going down an incline. And I called out to him again the second time, and he didn't move. He was just standing there. And I called out to him a third time, and now I got a sick feeling in my stomach because he was standing rock still. He wouldn't move. And I almost felt like there was a doppelganger pretending to be my son that wasn't really him. And I just yelled out to him. And again, there was no response. And I heard something, and I felt something in my chest that just said, "Move now." And I just jumped from where I was. I took like 10 escalators. I took like 10 bounds at a time, and I just jumped down there. And because my boy turned around at this time like an owl, and his pupils were wide as saucers, and he looked really scared. He said, I can't move. I'm stuck. As I was jumping down there.
Oh my God.
And he said, and then I got there to where my son was, and he just told me my sneaker is stuck. It's in the grate, and it's the tip of my, and these were not sneakers. These were like these indestructible kind of shoes that we had just bought for them. And it was a big mistake because it was stuck in the grating, and I could see it. And his breathing was off the charts. He was really scared, and his foot, it was the shoe, the tip was stuck in the escalator grating, and it was being pulled in further. And I said, okay, this is no problem. I was a weightlifter. I put my knees into it, and I just pulled on the shoe, and it didn't move. And I just heard sounds from. Go ahead.
I said, oh my God.
And I just kept pulling. I kept pulling. And it was like I was caught in a panic loop, and the shoe was getting sucked in more by these threshing grates. I could see them moving back and forth, and they were sucking the shoe in more and more. And I heard sounds from my son, and he was not. And I just tried to get in there and pull harder. and I could see the thing stretching, but it was just getting pulled in more. And I felt strands, like guitar strings, popping in my back, because that's how hard I was pulling. And then suddenly the voice came again through my chest. I heard, "Undo the laces, undo the laces." And I saw my hands go through the laces, which actually were straps. They weren't laces. They were straps. And I started undoing the laces. And even as I was doing that, the shoe got away from me and was being, the entire thing was being sucked into there along with his foot. And I was able just barely in time to pull his foot out. The sock was ripped off and the shoe both were, at that moment, were sucked into the grating, into the escalator, and then they were gone. They were gone. And I just pulled my boy's foot up and nothing was missing. Everything was there. And I just grabbed him like the stairs teeth were chasing him. And I just grabbed him and just took him up to a place where some plants, and I just put him up there with his foot completely fine. And I couldn't believe it. And some people saw. There was another couple that saw what happened, and they were a Christian evangelist couple, and they said what they had seen was a miracle. They couldn't believe it,
right?
And they started singing praises to God and so forth. And my boy was shivering. He was in shock. He was in shock, and he was pale. And they came over and they did some prayers with him, and they told him this was a miracle they had seen. And I yelled at my wife, how come she didn't hit the stop sooner? Because she did get the stop, the emergency stop on the thing. And she told me the whole thing only took like 20 seconds. She said it didn't, or less than that.
It must have seemed like an hour.
It did. It seemed like an hour-long adventure. That's why I said to her, what was going on? Where were you? Why didn't you hit that emergency stop? And then when she told me the whole thing was 20 seconds, I couldn't believe it. I was amazed. So yeah, that's an example of a day that my son was appointed to, lose his foot, and it was prevented by the great voice giving some instructions. And just, there's times when we get caught in a panic loop, and that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me at that moment, when I just kept struggling to pull this indestructible shoe out of that stair grating, and it would not happen. And it was so that was an example of
it working, of it happening. Yes. So, what about the scientific community here? Looking into something like this, I think it is evidence. I wouldn't say proof yet because it hasn't, but evidence of a universal connection of everything.
Yeah. There is a lot, but when it comes to science, I talk about in my book that people need to familiarize themselves with what the great voice is,
right,
and how it works. And one of the reasons is because there's a lot of counterfeit voices out there. And as a matter of fact, there is scalar technology that is available right now that the national governments use, that they use pretty much in the black world, but I think it's also available in military uses, where it's scalar technology that can create voices direct to skull. And this could be abused in the very near future to create this sort of counterfeit of the great voice. And it doesn't go through the ears. It has nothing to do with the ears. That's what's amazing about it. And that technology is out there. And that's one of the reasons that people should learn to distinguish what is the great voice and what is not. And with Jason being there, and I write about in the book also an incident of counterfeit great voice that happened to him, where he had a being that came to him and spoke to him in his voice. But Jason should tell that story.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yes, and basically this voice told me that I was going to die. And it was my own voice telling me that I'm going to die of cancer and I only have a couple months to live and tell my family, tell my friends. And at that moment, I realized that, the voices that we hear may not be ours. And when I came to that realization, I popped out of my body, and laying in bed beside me was some type of being speaking right into the back of my head. And when I saw that, it not only blew me away, but it changed my whole perspective that, absolutely, there are beings out there that will manipulate us through our own voices. For what end, I don't know. To manipulate us, to get energy from us. But it might even be like Inception,
Jason,
where they can implant memories.
Creature, what did it look
Pardon
like
me?
when you saw that? When you saw that creature, what did it look like?
It looked like an angel. It looked like an angel.
What, like wings? What do you mean?
No, it looked like it was. It looked like it was just sparkling white light. It was like a light being, and it was just laying in bed, parallel behind me, almost like it was spooning me, and it was talking in the back of my head. And when I popped out of my body and I actually grabbed it, this thing freaked out. It was almost like it was unaware that these human beings could catch them doing this. So it was very shocked that I caught it. And when I asked it who it was, it wouldn't give me a direct answer. And I asked it if it was a being of light, and it said no. And when I found out it wasn't for my benefit, obviously, I told them to get out of there and never to manipulate me ever again. And this has happened to me actually many times, and it's not just through a voice, but sometimes through implanted visions or implanted dreams, where it can be a dream that I know is not mine. And I could say, this is not my dream, pop out and see that there is, in fact, some being with me in the room, sending or broadcasting that vision into my head.
What was? I remember you telling me about this experience before. When you say light being, how were you able to physically grab them? Was it because that you were not physical yourself at that moment, and that's why you were able to do that? Because your physical self would have probably passed straight through it.
Right. My physical body was still sleeping.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is that why you were able?
Yes. I had an outer body experience, so I was completely out of my body, and I could see my body laying in bed. It was almost like what people describe as a near-death experience. So once I am out, we can call it using my astral body, I can grab it with my astral form.
Right. Ghost on ghost. See,
Ghost on ghost.
Light being didn't expect that. It sounds like you surprised the light being.
Yes, and we kind of have weird definitions because you would think a light being would be a being of the light. But what I've learned is that these type of interdimensional entities could take on a form that would be very suitable for us. So it would be very confusing for us to distinguish what is a being of benefit and a being of non-benefit.
Very interesting. Very interesting experience. The book is excellent, by the way, John. Now, you're going to be speaking this weekend. So let's talk about that really quick.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the problem when you have a great conversation. We just completely... So what's going on this weekend?
Oh, yes. We're having the Heart Frequency Conference. We'll be bringing people real ET evidence, real UFO evidence, and ET artifacts, and scientific proof that's never been shared before. It is the Heart Frequency Conference this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, October 13, 14, and 15. And yes, we will be having pretty amazing speakers with the great Mary Rodwell the premier researcher and experiencer from Australia. She's doing her national tour, and she's starting with our conference. And we'll have Ray Hernandez, we'll have Reverend John Polk, Sherry Wild, Clifford Mahudi, and many, Brad Olson, Victor Camacho, and Len Kasten, which is a good friend of Jason's there. And it'll be a pretty amazing conference by Awareness Life Expo.
So you're also you have some tickets to give away. Can you give out your Facebook page? Anybody listening to us right now, I'm doing this off the cuff because we were going to take phone calls, and then Jason wiggled his way onto the show, and we just got backed up. So we can blame Jason for this. But
I'm going to be doing a contest to give away 10 live streaming tickets for people who want to stay in their home and just stream it on their computer. It's pretty cool for October 13, 14, 15. It'll be pretty amazing, and I'm giving away 10 live stream tickets, the value of $25 each, and that'll be on my Facebook. It's John DeSouza. Name D like David, ESOUZA, Facebook. Just go to that, and I'll be giving up those tickets tonight, probably after the show. And you just have to know something about the clear hearers. That's all. You just have to know what's another word for. No, I already used that one in last night's contest. You just have to know from the book just the most basic things about clear hearing, and that'll be the question, and then we'll give away those tickets.
Okay, I'm actually posting it right now for the stream tickets.
Yes.
Boom, done, and very exciting. And Jason, before I let you go, what's your next book? What are you working on?
Well, actually, John and I...
Also, I want to thank Jason for doing the cover for the Clear Hearers. He did a fantastic job. Anybody goes and looks at that, he did a picture of a clear hearer receiving the great voice on the cover of this book, and he helped me to edit and put together the book as well. And he did a fantastic job. If you see that cover, that is what a clear hearer looks like when they are receiving the great voice. It's spiritual, but it's
cool. The illustration is cool. It's really cool. So
now, Jason, sorry.
Yeah, Jason, really quick. What's your next book? Jason cranks them out.
I'm not going to say anything because there's a couple projects I'm working on, and I'm even talking to John and helping me out with a couple new projects.
It's too big, Jimmy.
But it's going to be cool, and Jimmy, you'll be the first to know.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much, John. We've got it out there on Twitter now. Just go to John's Facebook page. He'll be giving away 10 streaming packages for the conference this weekend. And also, I will remind everybody, and you can go to John's page and awareness.lifeexpo.com. The first 10 Fadernauts that show up on Friday morning will get a full weekend pass package, okay? And I think tomorrow night on the show on Open Lines, I'll give away a full-on VIP package tomorrow night to one lucky winner. I'll do that. I don't care what Javier says. I'm just going to do it. And I'll do that tomorrow night. Thank you guys so much. What a great show. And, I love the both of you. And just thank you. Just a great conversation tonight.
Love you, Jimmy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Jason.
Bye.
All right, everybody. I'm going to take a break right here. And when I come back, I'll open up the phone lines. And the thing is, of course, I do want to talk about clear hearers and the great voice. But also, I know everybody wants to talk about Tom DeLonge and what happened this morning with his live stream. And so that's it. I'll open up the phone lines, open conversation to everybody. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
To my boy, Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by New Pharma, GNU Pharma. Just go to newpharma.com. Check out all of the science behind their stuff. It's an absolutely incredible website, and the promo code is F2B right there, and you will get 33% off of your order. Also, Bearing Optics, Night Vision. Click on the banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And when you call and check out Bearing Optics and their products for night vision. Incredible. It's what we use here. Okay, all you got to do is mention that you're a fade or not, right? Jimmy Church Radio. Jimmy Church. That's all you got to do, and get yourself some night vision. Now, before we move on, what is going on up in Northern California, Southern California too, in the Anaheim Hills? Northern California, this Napa fire is completely out of control, 0% contained. And I've got this announcement from Michelle Anderson. She says, attention, any Napa, Sonoma area fire victim, if you have a bed or a campsite right now at no cost tonight. So if you're listening to this show, for whatever reason, if you're up there listening to this show, you're probably safe. But the point is simple. You can take refuge at the Chancellor Ranch in Bodega Bay. The owners there said that they can accommodate 200 comfortably. You can bring your pets, your kids, anything. We just want you to be safe. Again, Chancellor Ranch in Bodega Bay. Okay? All right. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Walt again.
Hey, Walt again. Is that your last name again?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
How you doing, Mr. Again? You haven't called in a long time, though.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Hey, listen, about that fire, there's like 22 fires spontaneously this past Sunday. They never talk about, I never heard a word about what was the probable cause.
Yeah, okay. The announcement today on that, the possibility that humans, those were the words that they used, right? Humans. I found that strange. But anyway, they have not looked into the point sources. They haven't looked into any of that right now. All of the resources are geared to saving lives. You know, the reports today coming out of Napa is that there are over 500 people missing. Now, that doesn't mean that 500 people have perished or lost their lives, but they have family members and friends up there that are trying to get in touch with people that they cannot. Now, cell service is knocked out in a lot of areas and phones, so that could be part of it. But, oh, man, what if when you look at the destruction, I was looking at some drone footage today. I mean, block after block after block, house after house after house. The last count was over 2,000 structures. 2,000. That's not a small fire. It's over 100,000 acres, and is just completely out of control. It's going in all directions at the same time.
Yeah, I'm real curious about why the silence speaks so loudly, and I can't hear any information.
Well, and again, the reason for that is, and I understand, they are overwhelmed. So their whole goal here right now, all of the resources are saving lives. That's it. Yeah. That's where everything is geared towards, and I understand that. I fully get it. Before, they'll worry about the investigation later. All resources are steered towards saving lives.
Well, Jimmy, the reason I called was because I wanted to talk to John. I turned down the FBI's request to join them back in 1970 at $26,000 as a special agent, and I was wondering what the current pay scale was.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. You know what, man? You could probably go to FBI.org and click on the careers button. I'm serious.
Okay.
I'm sure it's all there.
I'll do that.
Thank you so much.
I'll do that. And the other thing is, he mentioned some things that hit home about, hearing a voice or a clear voice, whatever it's called. And I've had that experience 3 times in my life. Let me see, the first time was, it saved my butt. And by the way, I refused to obey the commanding voice 3 times. And the third time, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I had been hit with it in my stomach, and it doubled me up and put me.
Oh, yeah, we lost you. Your phone started to break up there, Walt.
Okay, I'll say it again.
No. Actually, Walt, we've lost you, my friend. Okay, all right. Walt was there, and sorry about that, Walt. It's just not working out. But totally agree. Walt has had 3 times where he's heard the voices and ignored them. That's not a good thing. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy?
Yes?
It's me, Fran.
Hi, Fran. How are you?
I'm good, but my friends in California aren't.
No. It's not good out here right now. Oh, it's just not good.
Well, the Northern California friends. I have friends all over the state, but oh my God, I'm just one thing, I'm praying so hard for Northern Cal because the fire, the last thing I heard was that it was about 4 miles from my house, my old house.
Right.
And I'm freaking out going, everybody be okay.
Yeah,
and
I hope, like I said, my, I have family up there, my 2 brothers, and of course all of their counterparts in the family, children, wives.
For sure.
But they were safe, and they couldn't reach out to us and answer text because the cell phones are down. So there you go. They believe it or not, Facebook. Right? That we got through on Facebook. They have the internet, which is sporadic enough, but no cell phones, and they are right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and that's how I've been keeping in contact with a few friends up north.
Yeah.
That's like, oh my God, it creeped me out. I'm going, oh my God, my friends are in danger.
Of course.
And
I don't see...
The other thing I wanted to thank you for was doing a big whoop for the Awareness Life thing here in Arizona.
You're going to be there, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's right down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 25 miles.
Yeah,
no
excellent.
big deal.
Yeah, you guys are going to have a good time this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that while I'm there, I can get a few people together to do a prayer circle or something, whatever you want to call it. Not prayer, but intention.
Meditation.
To slow those fires down.
Yep, a nice little meditation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when are you going to get there? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Well, I'm sure a few of you will call into the show tomorrow night and let us know, and
hell yeah.
And we'll announce it again tomorrow night. Thank you so much, Fran, and definitely go and do that meditation. That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Fran.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy.
You got it, Fran. Bye. Yeah, a meditation is a really, really good idea. Now, tonight, right after this show, we're going to have the asteroid flyby. That's right. Asteroid 2012 TC4 is going to cruise by right after the show. It'll be at about its closest approach will be at about 10:42 p.m. Pacific time. We wrap the show here in about 15 minutes at 10 p.m. So 10:42. Now, you can check it out if you go to space.com. They've got the SLU telescope is following the asteroid. And, this thing is not small, by the way. Some are saying it's about 90 feet across, but we're going to see it, and it's going to cruise by Earth nearly, for some satellites, it's actually that close. Now, I'm pretty excited about this. You can go to SLU's website, and you can also go to space.com. But this isn't going to happen again. Well, this asteroid's orbit, if you go and you watch some of the animations and its projected path, it is so close to Earth. It looks like and I've seen this on big screen. It looks like it's going to smack us, but they say it's going to miss us. But you can actually watch it tonight at around 10:42 p.m. You can watch it now, right? Well, go at 10 o'clock after the show. But wow. Go to the SLOOH website. That's SLOOH, SLOOH, or you can go to space.com. They are actually broadcasting live right now. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Damien Hamilton.
Hey, Damien. Damien, how are you?
Hey, Jimmy. Happy late birthday. I forgot to tell you that yesterday.
Thank you.
No, hey, but you know what's going on is there's how should I even tell you what this asteroid thing that you're talking about? It's making stuff even for me in a way. Do you feel that it's like changing our perspective on life or
the asteroid? The asteroid?
Something's going on, Jimmy. It's like I don't know what it is, but I just been really anxious to talk about this, and it's I'm gonna be out here waiting for it.
Right.
I know you are too.
Right.
I'm in Northern California. I live near Chico, California, so I'm pretty close to Mount Shasta, but not exactly there.
Right.
What do you think, Jimmy?
No, you're in some heavy wind, though, Damien. It's really loud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really loud in our system here, but I'm not concerned about it.
Not in that regards, Jimmy. It's more like an awakening or I don't know.
Yeah,
like
I know that. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're asking my opinion. I don't think it's. I don't think it's affecting us. I don't. It's no. I don't think it would be big enough to cause the fluctuations that would be necessary to cause any changes in consciousness or attitude or feelings. If you're feeling that, it's probably something else. I don't think it's the asteroid. And I'll give. You want me to tell you why?
Why?
Because what if you're feeling the same way 3 days from now after this thing is well past us?
No, exactly. And I know, believe me, Jimmy, it's like, I don't know what it is. And it's, I don't know. It's not that's going to change completely the way we think or how we feel or our consciousness. It's more of a redirection.
Right.
Like trying to steer us in a certain way. I feel that is good. And with all these fires going on, that is another distraction on itself.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. That is, I mean, the more that, and again, Damien, I want to thank you for calling in tonight and making us aware of all of this. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Damien. Be safe and be well.
No.
And let us know what you see tonight, okay?
Positive thoughts for all the Federnauts and being positive. Our consciousness is way higher than anything out there for all the Federnauts. Just think positive thoughts to everyone.
Thank you so much, Damien. Okay, be safe and now go watch something.
I will. I'm
all right,
outside
man.
Right now, Jimmy.
All right, man.
All right. See you later. Bye.
It's going down tonight. Tonight's the night for night vision goggles. I can tell you that right now. You can certainly watch it online. I've heard some reports saying that it's possible to see this with the naked eye. If you're in an area without a bunch of light pollution, and you know exactly where to look at the right time with some night vision tonight, man, that would be really, really cool. I'm just wondering, the X-37B, right? Think about that. Are we going to do something? I would, by the way. Here, this thing is 89 feet across, and it's doing this close of a flyby. Why aren't we attaching something? Why aren't we landing on this? Why aren't we doing something? Why aren't we capturing it? What if it was 89 feet of solid gold, right? Solid diamond. Man, lasso that baby and bring it down here. Let's check it out. That's my thought. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Ooh.
Jimmy.
Yes.
It's Gabriel.
Oh, my goodness gracious. How are you, my friend?
Good. How you doing, Jimmy?
I don't believe that it's you. So you have to smile and tweet out your picture. Then I'll know who it is.
I'll do it, man. I will do it. I'm down to, you know that.
So what's on your mind, man?
Yeah, I'm just I'm enjoying the whole Meteor deal. And I want to see it, but I don't know how much visibility we'll have because we have some cloud cover here. So
that's
I don't
a
know if we'll actually
drag.
get to see it.
Yeah, you would need a clear night.
Yeah, real clear. But yeah, I'm loving this show tonight. It was amazing.
Great show tonight. Great show. You know what's really cool, Gabriel? Every single night, it's just dynamic here. Every single night, every night. It's the best show ever, right? And that's my attitude. That's my attitude. But tonight it was really good. What did you think about?
You're not just saying that.
What did you see the Tom DeLonge live stream today?
I did not. I didn't get to do that. I'm going to probably see if I can't watch that tonight when I get home.
Yeah, do that. It's right there on Facebook. We have the links up. Just go into Twitter and jump into the feed and go and watch it. We'll be talking about it at length tomorrow night on Fader Night for sure.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Okay, so what's on your mind? You called me.
Yeah, I just, lately it's been a little weird here in Colorado. We've had, I live out in Sterling, which is pretty far out east. And we've had quite a bit of activity going on out here as far as military is concerned. And I don't post about it too much because every time I post something about it.
Gabriel, whatever you are doing, stop while you are talking to me.
I hate that I like to walk while I talk.
Yeah.
Okay,
continue.
There's a lot of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Gabriel, go.
Okay,
go,
good.
go.
I'm worried about talking on the phone about this stuff now. Because every time I either talk on the phone or post about it, I end up seeing a military Humvee pass my house. Within minutes.
Wow.
And it's because I usually go outside to talk because I don't get very good reception on my cell phone inside my house.
Right.
So I'll go outside to talk.
Right.
And every time I call to talk to one of my friends, within minutes I see this Humvee come flying by. And you can always tell because they have those big knobby tires. So it's like wah, 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 and then it comes by and boom, you can see this huge Humvee with a freaking armored machine gun mounted on the top. And I'm just like, what? Oh my God, I shouldn't have talked about it.
Really?
So I don't like talking about it. Yeah. Because it's so often. It's to the point where that's why I kind of calmed down because every time I bring it up, something would happen, And a lot of times I've been getting, at my house, I've been getting, tones shot at the house. So I have this really, because we do a lot of ghost hunting, right? So I have this really high-performance recorder. So I'll put it outside, and you can hear crickets and stuff, but in the background, you can hear this low-level humming that's just, really loud, and it's really intense. And it's more intense at the back of my house where my room is than at the front of the house where my room's not.
Wow. What do you think it is?
Yeah, and I don't know, but I know that lately I do get, I've talked about it, how I do get some, some tones can make me get angry. But to be honest with you, it's been doing the opposite for me because I think it's because I'm dyslexic. Because I perceive the noise differently. So what they want it to enact anger actually makes me calm down and be more gentle. So my wife will get a little upset and aggravated, and I'm like, why are you upset? What's wrong? And she's just like, I don't know. I just got upset for no reason. And I'm just like, yeah, that used to be me all the time. And now it's you. So it's been really strange. And a lot of at night, I don't see as much of this light used to light up the sky way out east, and it's where this military base is. And that light's gone now. And I don't know if either they moved the base or what, but I used to see it religiously every single night, and now I don't see it anymore. And it's just strange stuff. So I've been trying to just kind of keep my eyes and ears open rather than talking too much and trying to see what's going on.
Wow, that's incredible. And you know what? You're really noisy in the background, Gabriel. So I'm going to say good night now. But every time that he wants to talk about something strange going on in the skies there, and he gets on his cell phone, a Humvee cruises by. Wow, now that's the real Men in Black. Now, I do want to mention to everybody, I'm going to post this up right now. UniWiki does need your help, okay? And what they need to do, what they need your help with, is they are starting a podcast series. And so all of the production that goes with a high-level, high-quality podcast, they need your help with. They're asking for volunteers. So I'm posting up right now, uniwiki.org, and I want everybody to go over, check it out. Check out UniWiki. Not only that, but create an account, create a profile, get started. This is uniting the community. And probably the most important part about UniWiki is this. All of the things that we talk about on this show, Wikipedia won't touch it. Okay? Immediately remove. You can't even start a page on it. They don't dig us. They don't. So we've got to do this ourselves. And that's where uniwiki.org comes in. Everything that is our future and a database, a repository of knowledge, the right researchers and authors, and all of the subjects that we talk about on this show, there needs to be a point source for all of this. Not only that, it branches out into everything else. So please go over to uniwiki.org, sign up, and be a part of this. Be a part of this exciting thing that we are doing here. This community is large. Fade to Black, the Game Changer Network, and how we handle things here, and the people that work with us, lockstep, side by side, are what we need to get everything out there and to expand. It's just continue the reach, and you can be a part of it. Think about that. I talk about all the time about changing your own reality, being a part of this, changing the world. Okay, well, yeah, listening to this show is part of it. That's part of it. You know what the next part of it is? Actually doing something. And how exciting is that to be a part of this directly? Just go to UniWiki, Modern Masters, uniwiki.org, modernmasters.org. Go register, sign up, and help us change the world. That's what Fade to Black is all about. Now, I do want to thank right now, out of the gate, John DeSouza for coming in tonight. Always a great conversation. But, of course, Jason Quitt coming in. The book is Clear Hearers. You can go to John Tama Books, and the links are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Get yourself a copy of it. I didn't know that Jason did the cover, by the way. That's really, really cool. All right, tomorrow night on Fade to Black, it's open lines all night long. I want to talk about Tom DeLonge and his big announcement today. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.